You're listening to the BBC World Service, and now witness history with me, Vicky Farncombe. This is a story about when women in Brazil were banned from playing football, a law that lasted nearly 40 years. I've been speaking to Dilma Mendes, who coached the national women's seven-a-side team after the ban was lifted. Like many young children growing up in Brazil in the 1960s and 70s, Dilma Mendes had one dream.
Eu disse, a única coisa que eu queria era ouvir o hino nacional.
To play for my country. I saw the matches of the Brazilian team, the players standing in a line, listening to the national anthem. All of us Brazilians proud. I had that dream.
There was just one problem. It was illegal for women in Brazil to play football at the time, a law that had come into force in 1941. One of Dilma's earliest memories is being chased by the police near her home in Camaçari, in Bahia, in northeast Brazil.
Eu vi aquele carro, né? Carro branco com listas azuis.
I saw that car, that white car with the blue stripes coming. The first times they came with their lamps on, and the siren making a big noise. And so that helped me a lot because from afar, I knew I was in danger, so I ran. But then they came in silence without the lights on, and they came from somewhere I did not expect. That's when I was in trouble. There were two of them. I'd run like hell. One of my brothers was really sexist, and he would egg them on. Today, I'm nearly 61, and I can't be afraid anymore, right? But at that time, when I saw those guys arriving with those revolvers around their waist, with those clothes, Jesus, I was very afraid. Every time I talk about this, I get really emotional. I was only 11, 12 years old. I did not understand why people didn't allow me to do something which I loved so much, which was playing football.
With one much older sister and 5 brothers, Dilma felt she had no choice but to play football.
Porque eu não consegui convencer meus irmãos a brincar de boneca.
Because I could never convince my brothers to play dolls with me. So my story begins inside my home. They didn't want me to play football, but I had no one to play with.
She was desperate to show the boys she was good enough to play on the neighbourhood team.
Eu era gandula, né? Aqui a gente fala que é aquela.
I was always on the sidelines, catching the ball when it went out of play. While I was fetching it in the woods, I'd kick it further away so I could practice my skills, my headers. They'd only let me join in when one of the boys was tired of playing or needed a drink. Then they'd say, okay, come on in, join the team. But I barely get to touch the ball before they came back. I'd practice at home too, hiding from my mother. My family didn't have the means to buy a football, so I would take my socks and stuff them with paper and leaves.
One moment of glory still sticks in her mind.
O melhor dia da minha vida, né? Porque eu conseguia fazer.
It was the best day in my life. There was a match that was really important, our neighborhood against another, and they let me play. I didn't start, but I came on later. I scored a goal that went down in history. I kicked the ball through one of the boys' legs and into the goal. That guy still lives here, and he says, you did that amazing trick on me.
From that moment, Dilma's position on the right wing was secure, but the threat of being arrested overshadowed her enjoyment on the pitch. Football was initially introduced to Brazil in the 19th century and quickly became part of the national identity. By the 1940s, there were women's teams all over the country, 40 in Brazil's then capital Rio de Janeiro alone. That all came to an end in 1941, when the Brazilian dictator, President Getúlio Vargas, said organised sports were too violent and not suitable to the female body. The Ministry of Health said playing sport affected women's ability to have children. While many football associations in other countries, including the UK, France and Germany, banned women from playing, Brazil was the only one to decree it by law. No specific sanctions were mentioned, leaving it open to individual police officers to decide how to deal with offenders.
corria em outras épocas, eles me apostavam.
Every time I ran, they managed to catch me and they put me in the car.
Dilma lost count of the amount of times she was arrested.
Eles me levavam, mas eu não entrava na cela.
Of course, they did not put me behind bars, but they left me on the bench at the police station, like a punishment. I could only leave when my dad or my mother came to fetch me. I loved it when my dad picked me up because I didn't get beaten. But when it was my mother, it was terrible. She beat me too much, and I would be crying.
Desperate to carry on playing, Dilma would buy the boys ice creams to be her lookout. One day at church, she hit upon a more extreme solution.
Elas ficavam dentro de caixão e ia para
I saw that when people died, they were inside a coffin and couldn't be seen. So it came into my head that I could also disappear the moment the police came. So close to the playing field, I dug a shallow grave. When the police came, I'd hide in the hole and put some leaves on the top of me so they couldn't see me. I would be there lying down in the hole. At that moment, I died. I was buried. But I was sure that every day I would be reborn. Many times I will confess to you, though, that I'd be doing a very cool thing in the game and the boys would start screaming and whistling, giving me the signal to hide. But I would carry on playing. I would rather go in the police car than run away and stop scoring the goal.
One person always supported her dreams.
Tanto tinha que no último
My dad was very proud. Even on the last day of his life, he called me into his room. I played with him and we had some banter. I said, "Get up and play football with me." He said, "Only if it is in another dimension." Then he said, "I wanted to ask you something. You are the only one who will be able to take care of your mother. None of your brothers will be able to do that." And I said to my mother, "I only take care of you because my dad asked me to." In the end, I had a really nice reconciliation with my mother because I started to understand what she lived through. She was raised to believe that a woman had to stay at home, to get married, to have children, to take care of her husband. And I did not understand that at the time.
The 38-year ban was finally lifted in 1979. During that time, the Brazil men's team won the World Cup 3 times, in 1958, 1962 and 1970. But for Dilma and the other young girls in Brazil, the national victories were bittersweet. Even once the ban was lifted, female players still struggled. Their game wasn't regulated until 1983. The first National Women's Cup was not until 2007. Dilma had a modest career as a player in one of the first professional teams for women. After retiring from playing in 1995, she moved into coaching. She led the women's national team to victory in the 7-a-side World Championship in 2019.
Tímidas, ainda temos a resistência da sociedade. A gente não vai estar.
There's still this resistance from society. We can't say that everything is fine. I always say to the women around me, don't let go of my hands because while we can't dream alone, as I always did, to make it happen, we need people who believe in the dream. I want to thank the people who did not let go of my hand, who made me believe that we can make a difference to society, that we can make football different from what I went through.
Dilma Mendes was speaking to me, Vicky Farncombe, for Witness History.